many reasons have been put for failure in the World Team Championships. After all, we were considered to be the #1 Speedway nation. Well, this afternoon we had a fine opportunity to retrieve our reputation with one of 7 nations as we were in the World Pairs Final. I say this afternoon because, in fact, it was due to be held last night in Denmark, but it was rained off and postponed to earlier this afternoon. 7 nations taking part, as I say, and 2 riders representing each of those nations and riding as a pair in each of their heats. And these are the riders representing each of the countries. First of all, England, the holders, with Malcolm Simmons looking for his 4th successive victory in the event, and with Michael Lee, the former British champion, his partner. For Australia, Phil Crump, who was the world #3 3 years ago, and John Titman, Australia's only finalist in the world individual last year. Denmark, the host nation, with Ole Olsen on his own track, the world individual champion, partnered this time by Hans Nielsen, who scored a maximum when England rode against Denmark some weeks ago on this track at Vojens. Finland with Ila Taroma, who took part in his first world final last year, and Kai Niemi, who rides for Eastbourne. New Zealand with 5-time world champion Ivan Major, and Larry Ross, the Wimbledon rider. Poland with Ed Jankarts, another Wimbledon rider, and veteran of many world championships, and the very experienced Zenon Plek, just out of the army. And the American team was to have been Bruce Pennell and Steve Gresham, but Gresham has not turned up, or not even sent a message for that matter. The Americans tried to replace him with Ronnie Preston, but he was stranded at Heathrow Airport, like so many others, and couldn't get a flight. Pennell was therefore allowed to ride with a Danish reserve whose points would not count. Well, the track, as I say, Vojens in Denmark, partly owned by Ole Olsen, and the Danes very hotly fancied, but of course Simo and Michael Lee determined to settle the score with the Scandinavians. The meeting has only just finished, and we put the highlights together, and reading the races for us amid a partisan crowd, Dave Lanning.
England then, the defending champions of this World Pairs Crown. In fact, they've won it for the past 3 seasons, and Malcolm Simmons there, the rider in red, just going out of your picture, in fact, has held on to this crown for all of those 3 years. There's one of the Finns who they'll meet in Heat 1. England then bidding to defend this crown. Malcolm Simmons has a different partner. Each year he has held this title, and there is his partner for today's meeting. That's Michael Lee, former British champion, 2nd in the British final back on Wednesday in Coventry. So England's hopes rest with Simmons and Michael Lee, 2 very tall lads. As we come into Heat 1 on the inside there in red, Malcolm Simmons from England. Next to him in white, Ila Taroma from Finland and Leicester. Grid 3 has the rider in blue, that's Michael Lee. And on the outside in yellow and black from Finland, Kai Niemi. Heat 1, England versus Finland. Remember, of course, 3 points for a win, 2 for a second, 1 for a third. Accumulative points for the pairs here. This is Heat 1. It's a clean break there, and it's England who go into the corner first, with Niemi trying to run around the outside, and Taroma doing a brave first corner, and they were all over the place on those first 2 corners. Lee and Simmons getting into a bit of a tangle, which allowed Ila Taroma to come through into the lead. 2nd place now is Lee, 3rd place is Simmons, and Lee really gives him a nudge over there out of the way into that bottom corner. Track conditions, of course, are inclined to be unpredictable as England now go 1-2. It rained very, very heavily overnight, and the track was very wet. It's dried out quite well. They've put a lot of top surface, but it's going to be tacky underneath. But this looks good for England in Heat 1 as Michael Lee and Simmons now pair up. This is what Team Speedway's about. They've got to keep together. They, remember, score accumulatively as they come around into the last lap, 300 metres around this Vojens track, and it's Niemi now battling after them in yellow and black for Finland. But there's the gap, and England really have made an impressive start. Around the last corner, it's going to be 5 points for England. 5 for England, 1 for Finland. And that's a very promising start for England defending this World Pairs crown. Heat 4 with England versus New Zealand. The Lions, of course, having had 1 race and gathering maximum points, 5 now. They run into Ivan Major, the wily old campaigner of World Speedway, 5 times World Individual Speedway champion, and indeed the only rider in this competition ever to finish on the winner's rostrum having scored a maximum. That was way back in 1969. Major on the inside in red then. Next to him in yellow and black, Michael Lee from England. Grid 3 has Larry Ross from New Zealand, and on the far outside in the white helmet colour, it's Malcolm Simmons. Heat 4, England versus New Zealand, 2 of the more favoured pairings. England, of course, having already opened their account with 5 points. This is the first time the Kiwis have entered the fray here at Vojens in this 12th World Pairs Final. Heat 4. Yes, again, a very even break, but Major on the inside run, and Lee rode a very brave first corner. Michael Lee leads it. Second place, Simmons, and he was waiting for Simmons, and Major's dropped back to last. And the Lions are roaring. England 1 and 2, and they know each other's style. They're looking for each other. Remember, it's their accumulative points that count, and Michael Lee and Simmons riding perfectly together as a pair and leaving the Kiwis far back in their wake. Absolutely locked together. Lee on the inside, Simmons on the outside. Larry Ross is going after them, but he's got a long chase. Well, they are looking awfully sharp, and this is good news. A lot of English fans over here, and they are loving this. England, of course, not having much of a year internationally, sensationally eliminated from the World Team Cup. They were beaten on this track by Denmark a month ago, but they seem to have put that experience to good use. It's going to be 5 more points for England. Lee wins it. Second place, Simmons. Third place, Ross. So that's England on maximum points after 2 races. The Lions could hardly ask for a better start. Right from the first corner of Heat 1, Lee made the hole, Simmons went through it. They rode together for the rest of the 4 laps, and that's 10 points from their first 2 races. Well, there's Peter Adams, there the Coventry team manager, and Ole Olsen's personal and private manager, saying something which obviously was meant to impress Olsen coming into Heat 7. The Danes absolutely hot favourites here. Had a disappointing start. They shared their first race with Australia. Now they meet the dangerous Kiwis. This is Hans Nielsen. Just watch the old start there. Hans Nielsen, brilliant prospect, most impressive during Denmark's win against England, both in the World Team Cup final last year and here a month ago in the International. There's the lineup on the inside. Ivan Major in red, next to him Ole Olsen in white. Grid 3 has Larry Ross in blue, and on the outside Hans Nielsen. New Zealand versus Denmark. The Danes with 3 points. New Zealand only 1 to their credit. Both have only had 1 start. Heat number 7. 2 of the great figures in World Speedway, of course. Major on the inside, 5 times world champion. Olsen 3 times and reigning champion individually. Indeed, Olsen, of course, a protege of Ivan Major years ago. Heat 7. Once again, it is Major and Olsen, and Nielsen coming around the outside. Denmark 1-2. Major trying to find a gap up the inside, but the Danes really rode a copybook first 2 corners there, and they're in front, and the Voyage crowd are loving this. Olsen looking for Nielsen around the outside. Ivan Major making sure they don't go to sleep in 3rd place. Buzzing, trying to find a hole. But these boys must surely know their way around Voyage. It's their home track, but they have got one of the cagiest old campaigners in World Speedway right on their tail. Nielsen's only 19, Ole Olsen now 33, one of the veterans in this party. On their back wheel, Ivan Major, the oldest man in world-class Speedway. He's 39. Olsen will wait for Nielsen. He'll leave a gap up the outside. This is Team Speedway. They've ridden beautifully here today. They're going to collect 5 points. Well, I can hear what the crowd think about that. The Danes reckon to be invincible here. Had a, well, lackluster opening, but they got 5 points there, and they're happy about that. Heat 8 with England facing one of the great spoilers, Bruce Pennell there from America in Grid 2. He's won his 2 races, and of course the Lions, Malcolm Simmons on the inside and Michael Lee unbeaten after their first 2 starts. The reserve on the outside doesn't really count. Jürgen Holm, Heat 8. And it's Simmons who gets away from the start, and coming around the outside it is Lee and Pennell there, not finding any grip at all around the line. So it's England again with Lee on the outside, Simmons on the inside, and now Bruce Pennell trying to get between them, getting tight. Well, he's a battler, this Pennell, and he's going to go by Simmons. Simmons going back under him hard. You can see the battle for second place. Michael Lee looking to see where the action is, looking for Simmons. So this is something of a race, with Pennell now moving into second place, splitting up the Englishman. There's Pennell going after Michael Lee up front now. Into the last lap, 4 laps, remember. 300 metres around this Voyens track, and Pennell is right on the back wheel of Michael Lee now. This is going to be the first points that the Lions have dropped, unless Simmons can make his big effort down the inside here, and he's just about going to sneak through. There he is. Lee was the winner. Malcolm Simmons left his effort a bit late, came driving round the line there. Pennell was out a little bit in some loose stuff, couldn't quite get his wheels back in line in time, so that's 5 more points for England, and they really have made a cracking start, now unbeaten after 3. Heat 10, Ivan Major spearheading the New Zealanders, who had a very unhappy World Pairs final so far, only 2 points from their first 2 starts, in against the Australians here in Heat 10, so colonial warfare. The inside of Heat 10 will have Phil Crump in red for Australia. Next to him, Ivan Major in white. Grid 3 will have John Titman blue. And on the outside, Larry Ross in yellow and black. Heat number 10, New Zealand versus Australia. Major in grid 2. Crump in grid 1. Blue helmet colour is Titman. On the outside, Larry Ross from Wimbledon and New Zealand. Settling down now, the Australians have 6 points so far, so they still must be fancying their chances of a place in the first 3. Heat 10. Oh, Major anticipated the start well there, and Major leads it, and Ross from the outside, and Major went really from first to last there, inside that first corner. Ross is in front. Second place now, Titman. Third place is Crump. And it's not often you see Ivan Major, who has won the world title on 5 occasions, the world long track title on 3, go from first to last in 1 corner. Surprise, surprise, although his partner, young Larry Ross, who is some 14 years his junior at 25, cutting up the pace up front in heat number 10. We've lost Major. His bike appears to have given up the ghost, so perhaps that explains that untypical first corner as we watch Larry Ross show the way home to the Australians. It's the last lap, 300 metres around this purpose-built, and it must be said, very pretty and immaculate Voyens Stadium. And Ross is going to make sure the points are divided in Heat 10. 3 New Zealand, 3 for Australia. And Ivan Major, a sad figure just below our commentary box. His partner there, Larry Ross, did the necessary. But the New Zealanders, who've had a good year really, they've qualified for the World Team Cup final and have had a rejuvenating period in World Speedway. A little bit disappointing in this event. Heat 11 could be the all-important one, the decisive one, because it brings together England, undefeated after 3 starts, on 15 points against the hot home favourites, Denmark, who have 8 points after 2 races. So the Danes really must make up some ground here. Heat 11 on the inside, it's on the inside, it's Ole Olsen from Denmark. Next to him, we have Michael Lee in yellow. Grid 3 has Hans Nielsen from Denmark. And on the outside, in white, Malcolm Simmons. Denmark versus England, the 1978 World Champions. Denmark, of course, at World Team Cup level. Tremendous new rivalry in World Speedway between these nations. So Olsen on the inside, then Lee, then Nielsen. On the outside, Simmons. Heat 11. Oh, Michael Lee is so lucky. He very, very nearly broke the tapes there. Referee Tor Kittleson says, back in line, lads. And again, Lee is the impatient one. And they're away this time. And it's the Danes. Olsen leads it. Simmons will try the outside run. Here goes Malcolm Simmons around the outside. Terrible trouble there from Nielsen, but Olsen in front. Simmons is second. Michael Lee's at the back. And Olsen looks over and sees it's Simmons and will take him out there wide. My word, this is getting into a race. Simmons around the outside of Olsen, and he has gone by him around the outside, and Lee's moved into 3rd place at the back. And the Lions really are rampant here at Voyens. Well, this is Malcolm Simmons going up into the lead now with Olsen hard after him, and Lee now has closed the gap on Olsen, and we really have had a race to remember here in Heat 11. Just one lap to go, and Malcolm Simmons, the England skipper, much maligned, has really ridden the race of his life here, and he's holding out Olsen. Just 2 more corners to go, and this one really might wrap it up for the English, because Simmons is going to win it, and that's a memorable win. Simmons wins it. 2nd place Olsen, 3rd place Lee. Heat 11, the English pairing collect 4 points, and that might just clinch this title for them.
Well, England seemingly well on course for their 4th successive World Pairs title, I should say. After 11 heats, they're 9 points clear of Denmark and Poland. But Special 2 and Speedway's pairs final from Voynes in Denmark. 21 heats in all, and after 12 of them, this was the situation. England led with 19 points, Australia was 2nd on 13, Denmark and Poland shared 3rd place with 10, America were 5th with 7, and New Zealand and Finland were in joint 6th place with 5. Let's rejoin it now for Heat 13. Dave Lanning, the commentator.
Heat number 13, the Danes really with it all to do now, because they are 9 adrift of England. They have this race in hand. It's possible for them to get 25 points, but they need maximums from their last 3 outings. Ole Olsen, a bit disappointing, hasn't looked as masterful as we have come to know him, particularly on his home track. And there is the spoiler in heat number 13 there. That's Bruce Pennell in red, the lone American. Olsen possibly a little tired because he's been up most of the night worrying about this restaging and doing the track this morning. So Bruce Pennell, the American all on his own, who's looked impressive. He's on the inside red. Next to him, Olsen. The reserve is Jürgen Holman blue, and on the outside, Hans Nielsen yellow. Heat number 13, the Danes desperate for points. And it looks as though they may well get them, because Olsen and Nielsen are the leaders. Pennell there did not make a very happy start at all, so he must now chase hard after the Danes up front. Nielsen looking for Olsen, and Pennell is not that far back. American has ridden very bravely. He'll make sure the Danes dilly-dally on the way. You see the gap there. They're riding quite beautifully together, leaving no room at all for Pennell. Pennell really is having a go at them though, now trying the outside run, and only Olsen is aware of his presence. Fascinating speedway here, entertaining, as Pennell again tries the outside run into the last lap. Nielsen yellow and black, Olsen in white. Pennell trying so hard, and he might just squeeze by, leaving absolutely no gap at all. He's now going to try the inside run, but Olsen again, with eyes in the back of his head, is aware of the move. He wins it. 2nd place Nielsen, 3rd place Pennell. Didn't he try hard? 5 points for the Danes, so they're by no means out of this World Pairs final yet. Well, there's Olsen and Nielsen. They really did ride a quite beautiful tactical race there, although Bruce Pennell tried inside, outside and down the middle. Couldn't find a gap anywhere, so 5 points moves the Danes up onto 15. England still will have to keep their eye on them. Well, there are the scores. They've all done 4 starts each. England on 19, Denmark and Poland on 15 apiece, Australia on 13, America on 8, Finland 5, New Zealand 5. So England and Australia clash in heat number 15, coming up under starters' orders. And this again is an important one. On the inside, it's going to be Malcolm Simmons red, looking tremendous this afternoon. Next to him, Phil Crump in white for Australia. Grid 3 has Michael Lee from England in blue. And on the outside, it's John Titman, yellow. Old adversaries then, England versus Australia. Started riding against each other internationally back in 1930. Heat 15. With the English in front, but still looking for points. And it's Crump for Australia. Crump leads it. Titman going around the outside, Simmons down the inside, and this is an upset for England, but Simmons now will stretch and push and try and leave a hole for Michael Lee, although Titman's ridden a very brave corner there, and it's awfully, awfully tight. You could throw a handkerchief over all 4 as Michael Lee comes through into 2nd place. Lee challenging hard, but now it's Australia 1-2, and here's an upset. Lee then pushing hard round the inside, going under Titman. He's through into 2nd place. Simmons now trying to go through the same gap as Lee goes after Phil Crump, and this is a race to remember. Crump still leads. Lee in second place. Simmons is at the back. Titman is third, but now Michael Lee is going hard under Phil Crump, but he has come from last to first here, or has he? As Crump keeps going around the outside, Lee stretches away on his Czechoslovakian Jawa, and he really has ridden the most enthralling race here. Michael Lee is going to split him up. 3 to England, 3 to Australia. A really superb piece of Speedway action with Michael Lee, the young man only 20 years old from Kings Lynn, coming through from 4th to 1st place, really to save England's bacon there in heat 15. Heat number 16, and it really is getting quite fascinating here in Boyens this afternoon, because the Danes now have a chance to creep a bit nearer England. England's lead looking a little tenuous now. They dropped some points there in heat 15. Now the Danes can close the gap to 2 points if they take maximum points from the depleted Finns in heat 16. The lineup: on the inside, Ole Olsen, red. Next to him in white, the young Danish reserve, Jens Nielsen, and he'll be meeting his younger brother, Hans Nielsen, in grid 3 in blue. And on the outside, Kai Niemi, the lone Finn, having sadly had partner Ida Taroma taken off to hospital with a broken leg, which effectively put the Finns out of the reckoning. But Denmark, hot anti-post favourites, have had to struggle, but now they're back in and must know they're in with a faint chance still of snatching this title. Heat 16. Olsen and Nielsen get away, and young Jens Nielsen almost coming to grief there on the bottom turn, as the home pairing of Olsen and Nielsen now seem to get the measure of this Boyens trek. They should know it inside out, riding side by side, and it's going to take an earthquake to stop these two now. Olsen, of course, Denmark's master sportsman, was born just down the road in Haderslev, has an average of 10.11 in British Speedway, and indeed has been going through a bit of a lean patch with him recently. He's a bit off colour. Hans Nielsen's 19 from Brolst in Denmark, has a higher average in fact in the British League than Olsen, 10.27, rides from Wolverhampton, reckoned by many to be the lad to follow in Olsen's considerable tyre prints to a world individual title. When they get in front, they really do look superb. Nielsen and Olsen together over the line, 5 points. England come back that much nearer as we approach the climax of this 1979 World Pairs.
5 points till Denmark.
Well, that's the scoreboard. You can see it's pretty close, but heat number 18 coming up, the one that England could clinch the title, the one which is so important to their chances, because they just need a first and a third, 4 points to put themselves in an unattainable and unassailable position. We have the Poles in here, and they're not going to give anything away because they're still in with a chance of a place in the frame as well. On the inside is Edward Jansarsch in red. Next to him, Michael Lee, yellow-black. Grid 3 has Zenon Plek in blue. On the outside, Malcolm Simmons, white. Heat 18, the crucial one for England's chances. That's an even break, and it looks like Poland there first, although Lee and Simmons are going around the outside of Edward Jansarsch, and Lee leads it. Lee and Jansarsch stretching. Down the back straight is Lee and Jansarsch. Lee on the outside. Jansarsch has come through on the inside, and Plek is into third place. So England really with a lot of work to do here in heat number 18. The Poles really have been super spoilers here, and now Jansarsch has Michael Lee, and Simmons must try and get up into third place. It's so important here as Lee goes very, very wide, almost leaves a gap for Plek, and I think Plek's going to go through. Tremendous Speedway action here in heat 18, but it's going to leave it open for the Danes, because Plek has come through into second place, and England, who at one stage seemed unassailable, really now in some trouble. The last lap, and Lee really must ride his heart out around these last two corners to hold on to second place. And it's so close on the line. Jansarsch wins it. It looked like Lee up into second place. Plek was third, but it's ripped open this World Pairs Championship wide open now, because that really wasn't good enough for England. They could have wrapped it up there, but the Poles really got in their way and rode magnificently. Well, the local crowd, of course, are loving that, because it means now the Danes, after a slow start, have now got a chance to snatch it right at the last gap. Well, we might still have a storybook finish as far as the Danish crowd are concerned, because their pairing of Olsen and Nielsen, after a somewhat rocky start, now definitely back in with a chance of snatching this title in the very last race, because they have 20 points accumulatively so far, and 5 points in this last race. Heat 21 could take the title to Denmark. The Danes, of course, hold the world individual title through this man, Ole Olsen, who seems to be composing himself there and relaxed for Heat 21. He is the world individual champion. Of course, they are the world team champions. They have the European under-21 champion. This is one title they don't hold. It would really complete a remarkable clean sweep for them if they could snatch this title in the last gasp. But they have the Poles to contend with, and indeed, the Poles are themselves in with a chance of winning this title, because 5 points, maximum points from Poland, they have 19 so far, would put them up level with England. There is the score chart, the three nations to worry about: Denmark, England and Poland. The English have finished their rides, of course, 24 points. So if the Danes get first and second here, 5 points, they will snatch the title. If they get 4 points, that's a first and a third, we have a run-off between England and Denmark for the title. Poland, the opposition of the Danes in Heat 21, on 19 points, so a maximum 1-2 for them here could put them in with a run-off with England for the championship. So Heat 21 really with all kinds of possibilities. On the inside, Olsen, red. Next to him in white, Edward Jansarz, Poland. Grid 3, Hans Nielsen, blue. On the outside, Zenon Plek, yellow. Heat 21 is going to sort out all the answers for us. Away they go, and it's Jansarz in between the two Danes. Olsen leads it going wide. Olsen leads it. Nielsen's come through on the inside. The Danes are 1 and 2, and now Jansarz, who really made a bit of a hash of those first two corners, must really try to burst apart. He's going to try and split them up. Olsen leads it. Jansarz going hard around the outside as Nielsen gets into some trouble in second place. So now the battle really is joined, as now Jansarz has gone by Nielsen. As Olsen looks for him, they're switching and dipping and team riding, and it's tremendous Speedway. Just look at Olsen trying to slow up Jansarz. He's done it. It's brilliant stuff. Again, Olsen is aware of Jansarz. He's taken it right out wide. That is the corner that could sort it out for the Danes. Olsen has ridden absolutely magnificently. He has team ridden his partner home, but though Jansarz is not finished. Here he comes again. And it's so close on the line there, Jansarz. Olsen has won it. Was Nielsen second, or did Jansarz get up? It's a blanket finish, and the judge will have to sort that one out. Well, what a finish. We wait for the decision. Olsen certainly won it. The Danes have done it. Nielsen stayed in second place. They have snatched 5 points in really the most colossal finish. England, who seem to have this title in their pocket at the halfway stage, slipping in the second half, and the Danes have got a storybook finish that only Hans Christian Andersen could have created.
Yes, a remarkable finish there, and the Danes coming very strong in that final heat. But there was a controversy at Voynes in Denmark, because the man who finished third officially there, Jansarz the Pole, said that he was ahead of Nielsen. Let us have a look at this in slow motion again, and let me first identify the riders for you. In the lead clearly is Olsen. On the right of your picture, in second place, they say, is Nielsen, his teammate, and on the left, in the white helmet, is Jansarz. Now, if we just edge that slowly towards the finish, Olsen definitely wins, but Jansarz, the man on the left, says he finishes second ahead of Nielsen. And if you look very closely, it's awfully difficult to tell, but he looks to me as if he actually did. Well, that was unofficial. I must say, if he had finished second, then of course the whole thing would have been squared, and Denmark and England would have had to ride off. But the official result is this: Denmark winning it by just 1 point ahead of England. In third place, Poland with 20 points. Australia were fourth with 19. The United States were fifth with 14. Sixth were New Zealand with 12. And in final place there, Finland with 7 points. Ila Tuomo, of course, having broken his leg in Heat 5.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed, born a rock star in the